You are welcome once again. My name is Emmanuel Odujuma, your trainer for this entire series. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to it. Turn on the notification button to get alerted when a new video is posted. If you like this video, hit on the like button. In this lesson, we are going to talk about Flexbox containers and their respective items and their direct items. So in our previous video, I made mention that when you are dealing with Flexbox gives you total control over the items in a container. So you have to first determine the items you want to control and its container. So that is what we'll be doing in this lesson, to be able to determine the container and its direct items. So I use this site as an example. So if you look at this particular website, it's a portfolio website, and some of its layouts can be achieved using Flexbox. So when I look at the navigation bar over here, I see that there is this text as Hannah over here. There are these list items or links that are grouped in the middle, and this button at the right hand side. So as a designer, before you go to the actual code itself, there is something that you have to do. So if you are in a company that has a UX and UI department, they will make wireframes or even prototypes of the design they want you to present. So you'll be presented with a design like this or a wireframe of how the layout should be. So you base on that layout and then you design something. So as a designer, you should be able to see something like this and know what is happening. So in this navigation bar, you see that this Hannah is over here, this is right in the middle, and this is at the right hand side. So for me, I see this one as one group, I see this as another group, and I see this as another group. When I come to the hero section, I see all these as one group, and I see this as another group. So you get this form of layout. So by looking at this is the layout I see. So I see her name over here, I see the links over here, the list items over here, and I see the button over here. I saw the entire group, and I saw another group with the picture. So I see these two layouts, and within this I saw some text, and two buttons. So it is either you are presented with a wireframe like this, or you are presented with a full design, a prototype like this, so that you base on this prototype and you design your website or your web page. So this is the layout I see. So you have to first determine that. So let me bring up the layout again. So when I look at the navigation bar, I see these three groups. So these three groups by default may have been put in a vertical order. So this would have been at the top, this one would have been in the middle, and this one at the bottom. So to get total control over the layout and make it in this form, in a horizontal form, then I can group all these three and make that container a Flexbox container. So I would go to my code and check if these three are already in a container. So if I use HTML to code it, I'll make sure all these three elements are inside a container. And these two, I also make sure that the two of them are also in a container, so that I can make this a Flexbox container and make this one to a Flexbox container, so that I have total control over the direct elements. Now, by default too, it might be that these single list items may be arranged in a vertical manner. This one at the top, this one bottom, 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 bottom. So to make that one to in this form, I have to make its container, this particular container, a Flexbox container, before I can get total control over the layout of these items. So if they are in a vertical manner and I want them to be in a horizontal manner like this, I look for its direct container and make sure that container is a Flexbox container. So the reason why we have to make this one a Flexbox container even after making this one a Flexbox container is that when you look at this particular container, its direct children are this particular box, this particular one, and then this particular one. All these single boxes are found within this particular container. So these single boxes are not direct children of this particular box. These single boxes are direct items or direct children of this one. So when you are activating Flexbox, if I activate Flexbox for this particular container, only the direct children will be affected. So this particular one, the whole of this one, and this particular one. So the same principle applies here. If I apply Flexbox on this particular one, so if I apply Flexbox on this particular container, the only items that will be affected are all of this and this one. The individual items within this particular container will not be affected. So if I want control over these individual items, then I have to make this one to a Flexbox container. So when you make a container a Flexbox container, only the direct items are affected. If there are other elements found inside that direct item, those elements will not be affected. So enough with the talking. Let's go to our code and see what we are trying to talk about. Okay, so let's look at this particular HTML code. You see that within the body we have a navigation bar. So from here to this we have a navigation bar. Within the navigation we had the text, just like the one we saw on the page, like Hannah, just that I made it the alchemist. So I have this text within the navigation. I have this unordered list that will be used to create the links. So these are the individual links. So these are the links. I have the text over here. This the button for the contact me. So there's a button over here, all within the navigation. So there's the opening of the navigation and the closing of the navigation. So all of these three items inside the navigation. So when I come here, I have one container. So I have the beginning and then the closing of the container. So within this particular container, I have this container too. So within this particular container, I have these individual items. So I have this item, I have the P item, I have these two buttons within that particular container. So this container is found within this bigger container. So this is the beginning of that container and then the closing of this container. So this container from here to here has also these individual items, and we have another container inside this particular bigger container. So aside this container, we also have this particular container inside this bigger container. So this bigger container has two direct children. So this bigger container has two direct children, which are this particular container and this particular container. In this particular container, we have this image. So this image has been placed in this container, and these items has also been placed in this particular container on, and all these two containers have also been placed in this container. So you realize that for the navigation, we had the alchemist, the list, and then the button. So on the page, we have the alchemist, the list, and the button. And by default, they have been arranged in a stack from top to bottom. So if you want to make these in a horizontal manner from left to right, it means that you have to make sure that all these three are arranged in that particular horizontal manner. So you come to your code and you check, okay, this is the tag that brought that element. This is the tag that brought the list element. And this is the tag that brought the button element. So how can I make them in that horizontal manner? I look for its parent, its container. So these three items or elements are in this navigation container. So it means that when I go to my CSS, I have to make this navigation container a Flexbox container. So to do that, I'll give this one a class of, let's say, navbar. So I've given it an identity with the name navbar. So if I go to my CSS file, because it is a class, I'll begin with a dot, and I gave it a name of navbar, and I'll open my curly brackets. So I'll make it a Flexbox container. To make it a Flexbox container, we give it a display type of flex and close it. So if I save it, you see that these three items will be arranged in a horizontal manner. So I save it, and you see that I have the alchemist, I have the entire list, and then the button arranged in a horizontal manner. But let's look at one thing. When you look at the list, it is still in that particular top to down manner, because the individual list items are not direct children of that particular navbar. These individual lists, the home, about, services, contacts, they are direct children of this particular UL unordered list. Making this navbar a Flexbox container does not affect the individual list items. That is why the list items are still in that particular order from top to bottom. So to make the list items to in a horizontal manner, I have to look for the parent of that particular or of those particular list items. So the parent of these list items are the UL tag. So the UL tag in my HTML is the direct parent of the individual list items. So I can give this one to a class of, let's say, nav links. So if I go back to my CSS, I can now reference my nav links and also make it a Flexbox container. So the moment I save it, you see that those list items has also been arranged in that particular horizontal manner. So determining the parent and the individual items or the direct items is very important to be able to use Flexbox. So to get the total control over the items, we need to make the parent a Flexbox container, or else we wouldn't get the opportunity to control these particular items. I come to my hero section. I see that this particular container and this container are also direct children of this bigger container. So the welcome to the alchemist, this text and these two buttons are all placed in one container, and this picture is also in another container. So if I want all these three at the left and this picture at the right hand side, it means that I have to look for the container of these three items and the picture. So I'm not going to use this particular container because this is a container for the H1 P tag and the two buttons. So I'm going to look for the container of that group and then this particular group, which is this particular one. So I'm going to give it a class of, let's say, container. So I go back to my CSS and I reference that particular container and give it a display of flex. So when I save it, container, I made a mistake over here. So container. So when I save it, you see that the picture comes to the right and all the three items over here or four items over here comes to the left. So when I come to my code, the entire block over here comes to the left and this block over here comes to the right. So it is very important to be able to get the particular items and look for the appropriate container to change and make it a Flexbox container. So this is just to explain the container and how to make them a Flexbox container. Other videos will explain how to space them out, how to provide proper layout of them. If you like this video, hit on the like button.